Friends, today we have a new experiment, or rather we will do everything possible to revive the engine without disassembly. So here we go. The situation is as follows. We have a workhorse, on which in fact everything is good, except for oil consumption, weak compression, and with dynamics, also somehow not so good. There is no time to make a major overhaul on it, and in fact, there is no need. In addition, as you may remember from the last issue, the problem may simply be a large amount of fouling. Of course, if you pour quality oil and change it in time, there will be no problem with fouling. However, as practice shows, there are a lot of motors in lacquer and sludge deposits. This is very often the case when you buy a car with mileage. After all, decent car owners are now quite few, but to find a live option, it is a real quest to pass, which will definitely help DROM. We look at the reports in the ads and see everything that happened to the car. And in the extended report, you can find the past announcement about the sale of this car. It will be seen, for example, in what condition it was sold. Maybe it was beaten, or who of the past owners twisted the mileage, or on the contrary, to make sure that of the 4 owners of the real owners could be only 2, because twice it was passed in the trade-in. Therefore, if you want to buy a car reliable and without headaches, as I do, then go to DROM. Well, that's alright. Look, there's actually a very large amount of fouling here, and if it's there under the valve cover, there's going to be a lot more of it on the rings. So it's worth trying to clean it all up. And in past issues, if you remember, I was pretty good and Raskox, except that we always did it only in one go. What if we did them in sequence, 3 at a time, and grind the engine on each wash, say about an hour? Even I wonder what that would do. So let's try it. To begin with, just in a warm engine, pour 1 bottle of Raskox oil. Start the engine and let it run for about an hour. Except not at idle, but around 2000 done. On the mechanical throttle, it is easier to do this, but on the electronic throttle, you can just press the gas pedal. Anyway, we're waiting. So, the first stage is completed. Now again, we will remove the valve cover and make an initial assessment, and also a photo to compare all this in the future. You can even clearly see that it is much cleaner here, although it is still far from perfect. It is also necessary to drain the oil, as it now contains all the dissolved sludge in huge quantities. And while the engine is still hot, quickly pump it all out. I think it is still worth taking a sample to then assess the degree of contamination at each stage. And in fact, the first stage can be considered complete. Stage 2. We pour in new oil. You can use the cheapest oil you can find on sale. I took a mixture of old oil residues after experiments. After all, as I have already shown you, the oils are easily mixed without any consequences. The filter is also removed, and later it will be sawed off. Well, here we will put a new and enlarged size. That is from Gazelle. Fortunately, it fits here perfectly. We also take the second bottle of Raskox oil and pour it into the fresh oil. After again start the engine. Let's say for about 40 minutes, although it is possible and longer. Well, the time is up. Now again, remove the valve cover and take a photo of it in the same position. We see that it has become even cleaner, especially in those places where the oil is actively circulating. Now we will also drain it, but we will probably leave the filter because we have a new one as it is, and besides, it has a larger size. Well, in fact, the second stage is completed. Let's move on to the next one. Stage number 3. In general, we again pour fresh oil in the amount of 3 liters, and into it we pour the third Raskox oil. This time, hopefully, the effect will be better. And again, we leave the engine to grind for 40-50 minutes. It will probably take all day, but it's certainly faster than overhauling the engine. Alright, time's up. Let's drain all this flush now and run the engine with clean oil. I've just freshened it up a bit more. I think even 2 liters will be enough to wash off the residues of flushing and sludge. And after that, we can evaluate the cleanliness of the engine. Well, look, you can see quite clearly how the cleaning occurred at each stage. Although, to be honest, You can't see anything. There's hard blackness everywhere. It's only now that the oil is more or less pure, and it's foaming up a lot here. So in total, I ran about 8 liters of clean oil. Now, it's a different story. At least some small contaminants remain, but everywhere where the oil actively circulates, there is perfect cleanliness. Accordingly, the oil rings should be perfect. As for me, this is one of the best solutions for washing the engine, as this product is alkali-free and does not eat aluminum. Well, it is also neutral to oil seals and plastic, unlike the same Demexide. I guess you probably remember my experiments. The only thing that bothers me is that the paint on the oil pan is probably eaten away, so I'll have to take it off and have a look, but that's a little later. First, let's saw the oil filters. Well, I'll tell you what. It's so clogged that the limit probably wasn't working at all anymore. On the plus side, the Raskox soil dissolves the sludge completely, so there are no large pieces. That is, this sludge is no longer aggressive and is not able to clog or scratch anything. Although we will check this too. Now we're going to saw the second filter. I thought it would be in better condition, but in fact, it's the same here. Now let's roll the car into the garage and remove the oil pan in order to assess the cleanliness of the inside, also to see what happened to the paint, and at the same time to look at the liners. As you can see, the paint is still washed off in some places, but again without any peeling pieces, so in this form, it will not clog the oil inlet. And even though there was a lot of fouling, it's clean. Let's unscrew a couple of liners to assess their condition. In fact, they're perfect here as well. That suggests that this wash is not harming them. By the way, the engine's pretty clean on the inside. The main thing, of course, is that it all adds value. So we put the oil pan back in place now. Pour new engine oil, of course, the strongest. Let the engine work approximately to operating temperature, and again measure the compression. And I'll tell you, it's already much better. Here's another proof that if you remove the fouling, and thus improve the movement of the rings, we get the most efficient operation of the engine. In general, who wants to revitalize and clean the motor? Here is a really working and safe remedy. I will leave a link to it under the video. Try it and write your feedback. I don't get it, Dennis the ad man. What's going on again? Well, it's working. Come on, get out of here. Even if we had failed, and the engine had to be disassembled, there is still a big plus, because it is now clean and will not have to be cleaned. It's a pleasure to do repairs and defects like this, so you have to look for the pluses in everything. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for your attention, and bye.